Thanks a lot for inviting us, first of all, to present this. I'm presenting this also on behalf of the municipality of Bologna, that is actually leading this partnership of sustainable land use and nature-based solution. And in this presentation, I would like to give you, let's say, a brief overview of the Urban Agenda Partnership in general and the Urban Agenda for the EU. So what are the aims? And it's a bit different from a European project, so I think it's worth to do it. And then I will do a focus on Action 6, that is actually about regulation for NBS. That is the main topic then of this session. So the Urban Agenda for the EU, it's basically, it's born with the Pact of Amsterdam in 2016, where the EU ministry is responsible for urban policy signed this pact. And this agreement basically set and established some partnership and some main topics for this urban agenda. The idea behind this is that cities are more and more becoming crucial and fundamental in the European Union, but there's no dedicated policy, there's no dedicated DGs to cities. So this is basically a way to give cities a voice within the European decision-making process. So that's the main aim of the overall urban agenda. And it's conceived as a new working method to ensure maximum utilization of the growth potential of city and to successfully tackle social challenges. And it aims to promote cooperation between member states, cities, European Commission, and other stakeholders. I will show you later on the partners of our partnership, and actually there are all these different actors involved. This is like the main process, let's say. It looks like kind of complicated, but yeah, as I was saying before, there are like some objectives that are, I will go a bit further on that. So better regulation, better funding, and better knowledge. These are the 3 lines where the cities are supposed to give indication to the European Commission. There are some key principles that are about the working methods, the multi-level governance, the integrated approach, and the different linkages between functional urban areas, urban-rural linkage, and so on. It is important to mention, this is something that I didn't mention before, that this is a completely volunteer initiative, let's say. So there's no funds. It's not a funded project, so it was, basically the cities and the member states that are participating in the partnership did it for political reasons, so they volunteer to participate in one specific partnership, in one specific topic. This is not updated, so here you can say 12 priority themes, but there are actually 14. The last one started just last year, the last 2 of them. And you can see that the priority themes are really varies, let's say. And there's this timeline on the bottom of the slide where you can see the path of the first partnership, and then each partnership that started 1 year later, of course, is doing the same, but with 1 year of delay. The idea is that there's like the definition of the partnership based on this volunteer model, the launch of the partnership, the partnership work for a year on an action plan, and there's then the launch of the implementation phase of this action plan that lasts for 1.5 years. And that's where we are. So our partnership is now in the implementation phase. Here you can see the different priorities I was saying before. So better regulation, better funding, and better knowledge. And the action that each partnership is supposed to develop should fit in one or more of these 3 categories. And there are 14 priority themes. So this part has been taken by Futurum. I invite all of you, if you are interested, of course, to have a look at this Futurum platform. There are all the Urban Agenda partnership there, and all the information and the action plan published, and all the material we have worked on, and all the other partnership we have worked on. As you can see, there are a lot of different priorities, from housing to climate adaptation, digital transition, and so on. And to focus on our partnership, as I was saying before, we do have cities, member states, European Commission DGs, and other stakeholders and observers. So the cities are, there are 2 coordinators of this partnership. One is Bologna, the municipality of Bologna, and the other one is the Ministry of Economic Development in Poland. And then we have Antwerp, Cork, Lille, Ageda, Stavanger, Stuttgart, and Zagreb. And as member states, Cyprus, Poland, of course, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Portugal, and Slovenia. Then the Commission was pretty active, I have to say, in our partnership. Mostly DG RTD, DG ENV, and DG Region were active, and also JRC were actively participating in the partnership. And then there are other external stakeholders, let's say, so ICLEI, it was Eurocities, also the European Investment Bank, Incasol, Urbact was also pretty actively involved. The Netherlands were also really involved. At the end, also the observers, I have to say, that took a pretty active role. So which are the objectives of this particular partnership? So the focus, as we were saying, is sustainable land use and nature-based solution. And the idea, let's say this inspiring principle at the beginning of the work that was at the beginning of, half 2017, was to ensure an efficient and sustainable use of land and natural resources to contribute to the development of compact, but at the same time livable and inclusive European cities for all. There was a huge discussion at the beginning of the partnership about urban sprawl. That is one of the main issues for several European cities. And on the other side, there was also the discussion of the, of the compactness and how livable can be a really dense and really compact city, and how can we introduce NBS in this. So we came out with this like livable compactness principle. And that's exactly the general objective. So to promote a compact model of livable city and to bring to the attention and spread the NBS as tool for sustainability and livability. So the priority focus have been land take and land use, with all the issue and the definition of that, underused urban areas and brownfield regeneration, and then functional urban areas and nature-based solution. It's quite important. Since ThinkNature is an European project, and most of the, also the project that will follow, presented by ISTRA, is also a H2020 funded project. The main difference with this partnership, apart from being volunteer, is that almost all the members are either cities, ministries, stakeholders. So there's no real research in that. There's no real expert in that. We have been called by the municipality to support them from a technical point of view, like as an expert side, but we were more like facilitating the process. So it's really interesting because we did see another different point of view on NBS and cities, that is not the scientific one, let's say. And as I was saying, we came out at the end, the cities and the member states came out with an action plan. And for each action, this action plan was approved in October last year, and we started implementation in January this year. And for each action, we have identified obstacle, objectives, timeline, responsible partners, and expected results. I won't go into detail in all the action. You can find the action plan in the Infuturium platform, and you can contact me, of course, if you would like to have more information. But I will focus now on action 6. So that is better regulation to boost NBS at EU and local level. The objective of this action have been, let's say, divided in 2 levels, so EU level and local level. The idea is that at EU level, we have a look at the existing directives, strategies, and documents, and we try to understand whether NBS is integrated and whether the urban environment also is integrated in those legislation. And at local level, the objective is to try to understand to which extent NBS has been included and integrated into their national local strategies. And the expected outcomes are on the one side, recommendation to the EU Commission on a better integration of NBS within existing directives and other EU level documents. And at local level, the idea is to get an overview of existing strategies, minimum legal requirements, and tools in our cities in the partnership, and to try to propose better integration of those into cities' minimum legal requirements. So what have we done so far? At EU level, we did a review of many EU strategies, directives, and roadmap that include, mention, or refer to the concept of NBS and green infrastructure. And we also try to understand which are those directives, strategies, and roadmaps, again, that do not explicitly mention NBS so far, but they could, they can play a role in that. And in this sense, there are the Water Directive and the Flood Directive that we think are pretty crucial. And what we did at local level, so we did a first screening of legislation, standard, and minimum legal requirements in our cities, and we ran one workshop at the ThinkNature Forum in Paris 2 months ago to discuss about the topic with other interested parties. So from the partnership, some interesting action about local regulation to boost NBS. The case of Bologna, so there is a building urban code that is, a code that is compulsory for the construction in the city that has a part related with soil permeability. So there is an index that should be calculated, an indicator and an index that should be calculated in each new building in the city. And this index should allow a particular percentage of permeability, thus including greening, basically, the new building. On the other side, and this is pretty interesting, is really new. So the application of this new urban planning law in Emilia-Romagna, doesn't have a lot of example yet. But the idea is that the former quantitative minimum legal requirements, so before in Emilia-Romagna, as in all Italy, there was a fixed square meter per inhabitants of green areas, but this fixed number was just referring to the quantity and not to the quality of the space, not to the services of the space. And now they have considered a more qualitative point of view. So mostly in regeneration project now in Emilia-Romagna, they will consider the use of the space and the quality of the space with dedicated impact assessment. Same apply to Zagreb. So in the new special plan of the city, they define that the new parks within urban areas will be shaped in accordance to natural features and equipped according to the needs of the inhabitants. So there should be set a participatory process in that. And this is really in the special plan, in the master plan of the city. And there is also, again, a quantitative part of it. So they say this 5 square meter of park area per inhabitant. Then some further example and talks came from the ThinkNature Forum. So from the session we had there, the two main ideas from there were like that there are actually out there several good practices, including NBS requirements into legal planning mechanism, mostly coming from third countries and EU northern countries. There's not much in southern and eastern European country. And one of the main issues that I think it's really interesting that came up there is that there are often conflictly regulations. So EU directive, national directive, and local directive sometimes apply to the same city. And in that sense, it's really difficult then to boost this from a regulatory point of view. So the main question that we did at the Paris Forum is if minimum legal requirements and planning standard can boost NBS uptakes. There were different answers, so yes, yes, but, and no. And yeah, as you can see in it, yes, I mean, there is somebody that say that we should set compulsory standard and we should set like measurable green factors. Yes, but I mean, we can think about reversing it. I think this was really interesting. So going from a minimum to a maximum. So for example, with the parking spots, there was a huge discussion that if we set a maximum number of parking spots, we will have a lot of space to include green in our cities. And somebody says simply no. I mean, there was there were some people from the US in that sense, and in some country they say that like regulation doesn't work, and it's much better to have guidelines. But if not, we also ask them, so what could boost this process at local level? Again, like in I think a lot of discussion going on. So one is raising awareness of citizens. Another one is like starting with a strategy and push it. I mean, we say that there are a lot of strategy, climate strategy, strategic plan and so on. But I mean, if there's no like political push or whatever, this remains like just paper on the desk. And on the other side, there's a need of providing and receiving more data and inputs and some more models and tools, let's say. And at last, to conclude, I would like to spot these two events and calls. So for this action, as I was saying, we are doing this review of EU legislation, and we would like to develop this recommendation to the Commission. And we are actually looking for an expert to do so. On this, we have some expert days. So if you are interested, or if you know everybody who could be interested and is an expert on the topic, please contact me. And the other is that under another action, it is actually action 1 on land take, we're going to do an event in Bologna, the 7th of November. So there's this save the date in here. And you are basically all invited to join. I hope I was not too long, and thank you a lot.